The old train depot's now a museum. So let's look inside.
Floating around on the internet. Here came Fox News, the Shepard Smith show, got right in my face with the cameras.
Oh no.
And said, you have 2 minutes to answer these allegations. I said, no problem. And I thought, please, Lord, give me the answer to this in 2 minutes. He did. So we appeared on the Shepard Smith show for a while.
You hit the big time.
Well, it gets worse. Last spring, a man called me at home at 7:30 in the morning and said, ma'am, I'm with the Associated Press International. Are you aware that the National Institute for Mental Health is seeking an injunction against you to bury the mummies? I said, no. He said, would you like to make a statement? I said, yes, I would. I told him the story we usually tell here. He said, ma'am, we'll tell your story. I said, thank you. Then 2 reporters showed up from the Washington Post. I told them the story. Then a man came in, a lawyer, with cameras around his chest, and said, would you like to look insane for the camera? Oh, bless you. Also tell the story of the first official battle of the Civil War, and we can also tell you how the bridge was chosen.
Okay.
I'd like to hear all of them, actually.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stories. How much film do you have? Okay, now the first one, the mummies.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather have it in sequence with the covered bridge? I think it
Probably the
It could be
The
sequence.
sequence.
Sequence would be
Yeah,
good.
the sequence.
okay. And sequence. Let's see. The bridge is a result of the Great Bridge Building Contest. We have a new children's book that tells the story called, of course, The Great Bridge Building Contest. Now, Mr. Chenoweth, whoops, I hear it on story. Now, this is written by a famous husband and wife team from Long Island, New York. It's The Great Bridge Building Contest by Roxy Monroe and Bozanna.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She just happens to be the great-great-granddaughter of Lemuel Chenoweth, who built the covered bridge.
So she would know something.
And this tells the story. Mr. Chenoweth had to take his bridge model to Richmond by horseback in order to enter the Great Bridge Building Contest to decide who would build the bridges on the new North-South Highway built in 1848, and it went right through here. It was called the Parkersburg-Stanton Pike. It took him a week and a half to get his little bridge model from Beverly, which is outside of Elkins, to Richmond. He arrived at the end of the day, and the place was clear full of bridge models from all over the eastern United States. He reassembled his little bridge model from his saddlebags, pushed 2 chairs apart, spanned it with the model, and got up and walked across it. He looked at the other engineers and he said, would any of you gentlemen like to try that particular spot? They said, no. So the commissioner said, very well. He wins the Great Bridge Building Contest. He built the Phillippi covered bridge in 1852. And 9 years later, it was the scene of the first official planned military engagement of the Civil War, which was fought through the covered bridge and down Main Street and was caused prematurely by an irate mother.
Tell us about the irate mother.
When McClellan decided to protect the big B&O Railroad terminal at Grafton, he sent Colonel Ben Kelly, whose sword is in our display case, the one with the tassel.
Okay, it's this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had a federal uniform on. Finally, his descendant came in one day and I said, please tell me that is Porterfield. He said, yes, you got to remember, he was a federal officer before he became a Confederate. And that's why Stonewall Jackson was killed. He still had his federal uniform on at Chancellorsville.
Mm-hmm.
He was riding to get back to his troops. It was late in the evening. A new sentry thought it was a Union attack and shot him. His arm was amputated and he died of the infection 2 days later. But it was because he still had his federal uniform on too.
Wow.
Troops going by. Her son was a Confederate based here. She put her younger son on a horse to warn his brother they were coming. The Union troops saw him, put him off of the horse, jailed him sticks and stones, and put him back on the horse. They put him back on. She got really mad, went in the house, pulled out her pistol, fired at point blank range at the Union officer and missed. But everybody heard the pistol ball. The cannons began to fire and they sheared the tops off all Porterfield's tents. Porterfield knew they were coming. He decided to arrest his troops from orderly retreat, put out sentries. Sentries decided nobody in the right mind would be on a night like that, so they came in without telling Porterfield. Not completely by surprise, he grabbed what he could, lost half his supplies, and started up Main Street. But a thin line of pickets at the covered bridge to hold back 3,000 men, while his 300 got away. By then, the flanking unit was a mile away. They started to run to try to catch it. When the cannon fire cleared, they could see everybody was running, so they ran down off the hill to see if they could catch it. Thus, your first official planned military engagement in the Civil War is called the Phillippi Races. Now, there's daughter, Phillippi. The frontier Elizabethan pronunciation of was Phillippi. The day after the Civil War went through, suddenly both campaign reports listed us as the ancient Phillippi. I think someone dotted our E. But we doggedly clung to that original pronunciation of Phillippi. Then a man came through from Denmark several years ago and he said, "Oh, I thought you were using the ancient Macedonian pronunciation of Philippi, which is Phillippi." I said, "Yes, we were right." The surrender of Appomattox, where Lee surrendered to Grant at the end of the Civil War. A local Confederate pictured on the wall up above was at the surrender and brought the drum back. He was killed in 1863. He was a captain of a regiment, and he took his tent flag. They always had a commander's tent flag. His brother took the flag off his tent and carried it with him. And he brought the drum back, he brought the flag back too. And it's in the display case. A form of embalming. He was an embalmer during the Civil War, and during the Civil War they used arsenic and mercury as embalming fluids, which he found extremely hazardous to his health. He found a safer method using saltpeter and sulfur. When he was successful with small animals and food, he decided to try it on humans. So he went to the Western State Hospital for the Insane and said, "If any of your patients die without family to claim them, please don't put them in a potter's grave. Let me have the bodies for this procedure." The procedure was done at the Western State Hospital with a court order.
How many do you have?
Wow.
2.
Oh, okay.
But they're filmed, so.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You know the whole story?
That's amazing.
I did, but he's a little.
That's just amazing.
She's made this for the town because we couldn't get out to get medicine in the late 1800s and early 1900s. A couple of years ago, and he said, "Ma'am, I bought 2 pot-bellied stoves at an estate sale. We only need one." And the other one says, "Phillippi, do you want it?" This is the actual outfits worn by the cannoneers up front.
Oh.
They had their official uniforms on. They said, "Now, ma'am, we would love to hold these cannonballs while we have this picture taken."
Well, wasn't Miss Susie just a treasure chest of information? She's just amazing. If you're in the Philippi area, or Philippi area, got to stop by and see her.